Brain fog is that frustrating state where your mind feels slowed down, your focus slips, and simple tasks take more effort than they should. If you're dealing with it, the most helpful question isn't, "What's wrong with me?" It's, "What system is being strained?" Brain fog is usually a signal, not a personality trait. It can come from sleep debt, blood sugar swings, chronic stress, dehydration, nutrient gaps, medications, or even the air you breathe. And often it's not one big cause, it's a stack of small pressures that add up until your brain starts rationing attention. The goal here is to give you a clean mental model. You'll learn the most common drivers, what they feel like, and what to check first. No hype, no magic supplements, just practical ways to narrow it down. By the end, you should be able to say, "My top 2 likely triggers are these," and take a calmer next step. Moving to slide 2. First, let's define it clearly, because brain fog can mean different things. For some people, it's poor concentration. For others, it's slow recall, word-finding trouble, or feeling emotionally flat. You might read the same paragraph 3 times and nothing sticks, or you walk into a room and forget why. Brain fog isn't a diagnosis by itself. It's a cluster of symptoms that can show up with many different conditions and lifestyles. A useful way to think about it is bandwidth. Your brain has a limited daily budget for attention, memory, and self-control. When that budget is taxed, performance drops. The key clue is timing. Does it hit in the morning, after meals, mid-afternoon, or late evening? Is it constant, or does it come in waves? Patterns like that often point to specific drivers, and that's what we'll use to troubleshoot. Moving to slide 3. The biggest driver for many people is sleep that looks fine on paper but isn't restorative. You can get 7 hours and still wake up with a brain that feels thick and slow. One reason is fragmentation. Your sleep is broken into chunks by noise, stress, pets, or breathing issues. Another is a shifted body clock, where you sleep at the wrong time for your internal rhythm. Deep sleep and REM are when memory gets consolidated and your brain's cleanup systems do their work. If those stages are shortened, you can feel mentally hungover. A practical check is the first 90 minutes after waking. If you need a long runway to feel human, that often points back to sleep quality. Also watch the second wind at night. If you feel sharp at 10 p.m. but foggy at 10 a.m., your schedule and light exposure may be misaligned. Moving to slide 4. Next is blood sugar variability, especially if your fog hits after meals or in the mid-afternoon. Your brain uses a lot of energy, and it prefers a steady supply. When you eat a very refined low-fiber meal, glucose can rise quickly. Your body responds with insulin, and for some people that swing is followed by a dip that feels like sleepiness, irritability, and mental blur. This doesn't require diabetes to happen. It can show up as "I need something sweet to think," or "I crash after lunch." A simple experiment is to build one meal around protein, fiber, and healthy fats, then compare your focus 2 hours later. Also notice caffeine timing. If coffee replaces breakfast, you may feel sharp briefly, then foggy when stress hormones drop. Stability is the theme. Steady input. Moving to slide 5. Chronic stress is another major driver, and it creates a very specific kind of fog. When your brain senses ongoing threat, deadlines, conflict, financial pressure, it shifts resources towards survival mode. That can mean more scanning, more worry, and less working memory. You're on, but not effective.
Stress chemistry can also disrupt sleep, appetite, and digestion, which then feed back into cognition.
A common sign is being busy all day, but accomplishing less than you expect. Another is feeling wired at night, then heavy in the morning. The fix is rarely try harder. It's usually about reducing the number of open loops your brain is carrying. Even small practices like a written list of the top 3 priorities can lower cognitive load. If your fog lifts on vacation or after a calm weekend, stress is likely a big piece of the puzzle. Moving to slide 6. Dehydration and electrolyte imbalance are surprisingly common, and the symptoms can look like pure brain problems. Even mild dehydration can reduce alertness and make headaches more likely. And it's not just water.
Electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and magnesium help nerves fire and muscles relax.
If you drink a lot of plain water but eat very little salt, or you sweat heavily,
you can feel washed out and foggy. Another clue is dry mouth, dark urine, or feeling better quickly after fluids. Also consider diuretics like a lot of caffeine, which can shift fluid balance for some people. The practical takeaway is to make hydration consistent, not reactive.
Small amounts throughout the day tend to work better than chugging at night. If your fog improves within an hour of fluids and a balanced meal, hydration and electrolytes move higher on your suspect list. Moving to slide 7. Another overlooked driver is breathing, especially at night. If your airway is partially blocked during sleep, oxygen can dip and sleep becomes fragmented, even if you don't fully wake up.
People often describe this as waking up not refreshed, with morning headaches, dry mouth, or a heavy foggy head.
Snoring can be a clue, but not everyone who has sleep-disordered breathing snores loudly.
Nasal congestion also matters. If you can't breathe well through your nose, your sleep quality often suffers.
During the day, shallow breathing under stress can also change carbon dioxide levels and make you feel lightheaded or unfocused. The point isn't to self-diagnose. It's to notice patterns that justify a conversation with a professional. If your fog is worst in the morning and improves as the day goes on, sleep-breathing issues deserve a spot on the checklist. Moving to slide 8. Nutrients matter, but not in a trendy way. Your brain needs raw materials to build neurotransmitters, maintain myelin, and run energy pathways. Low iron can reduce oxygen delivery and make you feel tired and foggy. Low vitamin B12 can affect nerve function and cognition, especially in people who eat little animal-based food or have absorption issues. Vitamin D is linked with many body systems, and low levels often travel with low mood and fatigue. Omega-3 fats are part of neuronal membranes, and low intake may affect mental sharpness for some people. The key is that symptoms overlap. You can't reliably guess deficiencies by feel alone. If brain fog is persistent, it's reasonable to discuss basic labs with a clinician. Food-first habits still help. Regular protein, legumes, leafy greens, nuts and fish, or other omega-3 sources can support the baseline. Moving to slide 9. Inflammation is a broad word, so let's make it practical. When your immune system is activated by an infection, an autoimmune condition, or chronic irritation, your brain can shift into a lower energy mode. Many people notice fog after being sick, even when other symptoms fade. Allergies can do it too. If your fog is seasonal, or worse in certain buildings, your immune system might be part of the story. Food sensitivities are tricky because they're individual and easy to misinterpret. The more reliable approach is pattern tracking. Does congestion, skin irritation, or digestive upset rise with the fog? Another clue is sickness behavior, low motivation, heavy limbs, and a desire to withdraw. That's a normal immune brain response. If inflammation is suspected, the next step is usually to look for triggers and discuss them with a professional, not to guess wildly. Moving to slide 10. Your gut and your brain are in constant conversation through nerves, hormones, and immune signals. If digestion is off, cognition can be off too. People often notice brain fog alongside bloating, reflux, constipation, or unpredictable stools. One mechanism is sleep disruption. Digestive discomfort can fragment sleep without you realizing it. Another is inflammation and altered gut bacteria, which can influence how you feel and think. Histamine intolerance is also discussed in this context, though it's complex and not something you can confirm casually. The practical move is to look for simple correlations. Does fog worsen after certain meals, especially large late dinners? Does it improve when you eat earlier or when meals are simpler? Also consider fiber. Too little fiber can affect gut function, but too much too quickly can backfire. The theme is steady, digestible routines and careful observation. Moving to slide 11. Brain fog can also be a side effect. Many common medications list drowsiness, slowed thinking, or reduced alertness. That includes some antihistamines, sleep aids, pain medications, and certain anxiety or depression treatments. It can also show up with supplements that are sedating for you personally, even if they're natural.
The tricky part is timing. If fog began soon after starting, stopping,
or changing a dose, that's a strong clue. Another clue is a daily rhythm that matches when you take something. The safe approach is simple. Keep a list of everything you take, including over-the-counter products, and discuss the pattern with a pharmacist or clinician. Don't try to power through by stacking stimulants on top. That can create a roller coaster. The goal is clarity about what might be contributing, so you can make informed decisions with professional guidance. Moving to slide 12. Your environment can quietly drive brain fog. Poor indoor air quality, mold, dust, and chemical irritants can trigger headaches, fatigue, and concentration problems in sensitive people. Carbon dioxide can rise in poorly ventilated rooms, and that alone can make you feel sleepy and dull. Lighting matters too. Dim indoor light all day can weaken your alertness signals, while bright light late at night can delay sleep. Noise is another stressor. Even if you get used to it, your nervous system may stay on guard. The practical approach is to run small tests. Open windows for a set period, use a HEPA filter if you have one, and see if your focus changes. Notice if fog is worse at home, at work, or in a specific room. If a location reliably makes you feel worse, that's data. Your brain is an organ, and it responds to the air and inputs around it. Moving to slide 13. Now let's turn all of this into a simple troubleshooting plan you can actually use. Step 1 is to pick 1 week and track 3 things: sleep timing, meals, and fog intensity from 1 to 10. Keep it quick. Step 2 is to look for the strongest association. If fog spikes after lunch, start with meal composition and a short walk. If fog is worst in the morning, start with sleep quality and breathing clues. If fog rises with stress, reduce open loops and protect recovery time.
Step 3 is to change one variable at a time for 3 to 7 days.
Otherwise, you'll never know what helped. Step 4 is to define better in a measurable way, like fewer rereads, faster task start, or less afternoon crash. And step 5 is to know when to escalate. If fog is severe, sudden, or paired with other concerning symptoms, that's a reason to seek medical evaluation rather than self-experimenting. Moving to slide 14. Let's wrap this up with a grounded way to think about brain fog. Most of the time, it's your brain asking for stability. Stable sleep, stable energy, stable stress levels, and a stable environment. Start with the highest yield basics: consistent sleep and wake times, a protein and fiber anchor meal, regular hydration, and short breaks that actually downshift your nervous system. Then, look at the more specific suspects: breathing at night, nutrient gaps, immune triggers, gut patterns, and medication timing. You don't need to solve everything at once. You just need to identify the top 2 drivers that fit your pattern. If you want to keep this practical, save a simple note with your fog score and the one change you're testing. If this framework helped, subscribe for more calm, evidence-informed breakdowns. And for a quick check-in, comment A or B. Is your brain fog worse in the morning or worse in the afternoon? This information is not a substitute for medical advice. Mitochondria power everything. Protect them